Hey everyone, tonight we're exploring one of history's most mysterious and misunderstood professions. The medieval executioner. I know it sounds dark for a bedtime story, but the reality of this job is far more complex and fascinating than most people realize. These weren't bloodthirsty monsters, but skilled professionals who played a crucial role in medieval society. If you're enjoying these deep dives into forgotten history, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. I'm always curious where you're all listening from around the world, so drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. It never ceases to amaze me how people fall asleep to these stories from every corner of the globe. Alright, find that perfect comfortable position, take a nice slow breath, and let your body sink completely into whatever you're lying on. We're heading back to 1347, to a small but prosperous town in northern England, and trust me, you're going to have a completely different perspective on medieval justice by the time we're done. The Morning Awakening. Congratulations, you've just woken up in Whitmore, England, in the year 1347. It's early morning, perhaps around dawn, and you're lying in a surprisingly comfortable bed for medieval times. The mattress beneath you is stuffed with good straw and covered with clean linen sheets, better accommodation than most townspeople can afford, which tells you something important about your position in this society. You're not in the town center, though. Your house sits slightly apart from the main settlement, close enough to walk to the market square but far enough away that your neighbors don't have to think too much about what you do for a living. This careful distance is important, you're simultaneously essential to the community and set apart from it by the nature of your work. The room around you is simple but well appointed. Stone walls keep the interior cool even in summer, with a small fireplace providing warmth during England's harsh winters. A wooden table holds your few personal belongings, a leather-bound prayer book, some coins in a small purse, a sharpening stone, and a bottle of strong ale. The single window is covered with oiled parchment rather than expensive glass, but it lets in enough light to see by. Your breathing is still slow from sleep. Take a moment now to breathe more deeply, feeling your chest rise and fall naturally. In through your nose, filling your lungs completely, then out through your mouth with a gentle sigh. Your body feels rested, prepared for another day of the strange and demanding work that defines your existence. You sit up slowly, feeling the straw rustle beneath the mattress. Your muscles are strong and well developed. This job requires physical strength and endurance that few other medieval professions demand. Your hands, when you look at them in the dim morning light, are large and calloused but surprisingly clean. Cleanliness is important in your work, for reasons both practical and spiritual. The house is quiet except for the normal sounds of early morning, birds singing outside, the distant lowing of cattle, the faint sounds of other early risers beginning their daily routines. But there's something else in the air today, a tension that suggests your services may be required soon. Yesterday, the sheriff's men brought news of a trial that's been weighing on the town's collective conscience. Standing now, you move to the wash basin in the corner. The water is cold but clean, drawn from the well the night before. You splash it on your face, feeling the shock of coldness fully awaken your senses. The chill travels down your spine, sharpening your awareness of the day ahead and the responsibilities it may bring. Your reflection in the polished metal mirror shows a man of perhaps 35 years, with the weathered face of someone who spends time outdoors but also the thoughtful eyes of someone who carries heavy responsibilities. Your beard is neatly trimmed, appearances matter in your profession, as does the maintenance of dignity and respectability despite the nature of your work. This is your life, Thomas the Executioner, though few people use your name to your face. Most simply call you headsman or master with a mixture of respect and unease. You've held this position for nearly 8 years now, appointed by the local lord after your predecessor died of fever. It's not a job anyone seeks, but once appointed, it provides steady income and a peculiar form of job security. The appointment came to you partly by chance, partly by necessity. You were a blacksmith's apprentice. Before this, skilled with tools and strong enough for heavy work. When the previous executioner died, suddenly, the Lord needed someone quickly. Crime doesn't wait for convenient timing. Your master vouched for your character and reliability, and suddenly you found yourself in the most unusual profession in medieval England. Let yourself settle into this reality now. Feel your feet firmly planted on the cold stone floor, your breathing steady and calm. This is your world now, strange as it may seem, and there's a certain dignity in even the darkest of necessary tools of the trade. After washing and dressing in your simple brown tunic and wool hose, you move to the most important part of your daily routine, checking and maintaining your tools. In a profession where precision can mean the difference between a clean, merciful death and prolonged suffering, your equipment must be kept in perfect condition. The tools of your trade are stored in a large wooden chest, carefully wrapped in oiled leather to prevent rust and damage. There's a heavy solemnity to this ritual of inspection, like a priest preparing the implements for mass. In a way, that's not entirely wrong. What you do serves justice, which medieval people consider a holy principle. First, the sword. This is your primary instrument, a two-handed executioner's sword specially forged for your work. Unlike a knight's weapon, this blade is designed not for combat but for a single, precise cut. It's heavier than a normal sword, with a broader blade that maintains its edge through careful maintenance. The steel is excellent quality. The Lord who appointed you understood that cheap tools would make your job both more difficult and more likely to cause unnecessary suffering. You draw the sword from its wrapping, examining the edge in the morning light filtering through your window. The blade gleams with a dull shine, well-oiled and perfectly sharp. Running your finger carefully along the flat of the blade, never the edge, you feel for any nicks or imperfections that might affect its performance. Finding none, you're satisfied that it's ready for use if needed. The weight of the sword in your hands is familiar now, balanced and purposeful. When you first took this position, the weapon felt awkward and unwieldy. Now it moves like an extension of your own body, a tool you've mastered through practice and necessity. This mastery isn't something you take pride in exactly, but it is something you recognize as essential to doing your job with the skill and mercy it requires. Next, you examine the axe. This is your secondary tool, used less frequently but equally important to maintain. The executioner's axe is different from a woodsman's tool. The head is broader, the edge carefully maintained, the handle precisely balanced for controlled, powerful strikes. Like the sword, it's been specially made for your profession by a smith who understood the particular requirements of the work. The axe feels solid and reassuring in your grip, its weight distributed perfectly along the handle. You've used this tool more often than the sword. Most executions in your region are done with the axe, as it requires less precise technique while still ensuring a quick, clean death when properly wielded. But tools are only part of the equation. The mental preparation is equally important. You've learned over the years that approaching this work with the right mindset is crucial not just for performing your duties effectively, but for maintaining your own psychological health in a profession that would break a weaker person. You return both weapons to their wrappings and close the chest. Today may not require their use, most days don't, actually. Despite what people might imagine about medieval times, executions aren't daily occurrences, even in a world where capital punishment is common. Most criminals face fines, imprisonment, or corporal punishment that doesn't require your services. Your breathing has settled into a calm, steady rhythm as you complete these morning preparations. In and out, deep and even, preparing yourself mentally for whatever the day might bring. The routine itself is meditative, a way of centering yourself before engaging with the outside world and its expectations. The chest also contains other items essential to your work: clean cloths for cleanup, a small bottle of holy water blessed by the local priest, and a leather-bound ledger where you record the details of each execution you perform. This record-keeping is important for legal purposes, but it also serves as a way of honoring those who die by your hand, ensuring their final moments are remembered with accuracy and respect. There's also a small wooden cross, carved by your own hands during the long winter evenings. While some might find it strange that an executioner keeps religious symbols, the reality is that your work exists within a framework of Christian justice. You're not taking lives in anger or for personal gain, but serving as an instrument of lawful punishment that medieval society believes serves God's will. Standing now in your simple chamber, surrounded by the tools and symbols of your unusual profession, you take a moment to center yourself completely. Your feet are planted firmly on the stone floor, your breathing deep and controlled, your mind clear and prepared for the day ahead. This is your reality now, Thomas the executioner, keeper of the king's justice, bearer of responsibilities that few can understand or would want to shoulder. It's not a life you would have chosen, but it's become a life you've learned to live with dignity and purpose. The condemned Sheriff Robert waits in his chamber, a stout man in his 50s whose years of maintaining order have etched themselves in the lines around his eyes. He looks up as you enter, his expression serious but not unkind. Over the years, you've developed a working relationship based on mutual respect and shared responsibility for one of society's most difficult duties. Thomas, he says simply, gesturing for you to sit in the chair across from his table. We have a difficult case today. You settle into the chair, placing your canvas bag carefully beside you, and wait for the details that will shape the next few hours of your life. The sheriff's tone tells you this isn't a routine matter, there are complications that go beyond the simple mechanics of execution. The condemned is Sir Geoffrey of Thornwick, a knight accused and convicted of murdering a merchant during a dispute over debts. The evidence was clear, multiple witnesses, the body found in Sir Geoffrey's quarters, the merchant's gold discovered among the knight's possessions. A knight. This information changes everything about today's procedure. Executing a commoner is straightforward, a quick death by axe, usually, with minimal ceremony. But a knight, even a disgraced one, is entitled to certain privileges by virtue of his birth and former status. The law is specific about such matters. He claims the merchant attacked him first, that it was self-defense, the sheriff continues. But the wounds were to the back, and the merchant was unarmed. The court found no merit in his claims. You nod, processing both the facts of the case and their implications for your work. What method has been decided? Beheading by sword, as befits his rank. Lord Aldrich was very specific. Despite his crimes, Sir Geoffrey retains certain rights by birth. The execution will be in the courtyard, with appropriate witnesses present. This means a more formal procedure than usual, with greater ceremony and attention to proper protocol. A knight's execution, even of a disgraced knight, carries political and social implications beyond simple justice. The Lord must be seen to respect traditional privileges while still enforcing the law's ultimate penalty. When, you ask, mentally reviewing the additional preparations this will require? Within 2 hours. Sir Geoffrey has been allowed time for confession and final prayers with Father Benedict. His family has been notified, though none are present to witness. The mention of family brings a moment of complicated emotion. Somewhere, people who once loved this man are learning that he'll die today for his crimes. The justice may be necessary, but it still represents a profound human tragedy that extends beyond the condemned man himself. May I see the prisoner briefly? This isn't always possible, but when circumstances allow, you find it helpful to observe the condemned beforehand. It helps you gauge their likely behavior during the execution, which can affect how you need to prepare and position yourself. Sheriff Robert nods. He's in the tower cell. Fair warning, he's been volatile. Anger rather than remorse. If you understand my meaning. You understand perfectly. Some prisoners face their final hours with resignation, prayer, or even relief that their struggles are ending. Others rage against their fate, creating additional challenges for everyone involved in the execution process. Knowing which type you're dealing with helps you prepare mentally and practically for what's to come. Standing, you gather your bag and follow the sheriff through the castle's corridors toward the tower, where prisoners awaiting execution are held. The stone walls seem to absorb sound, creating an atmosphere of muffled quiet that emphasizes the gravity of what's taking place within these ancient stones. The spiral staircase leading to the cell is narrow and steep, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Your breathing adjusts naturally to the climb, staying deep and controlled despite the physical exertion. Each step takes you closer to the encounter that will define the rest of your day. The cell door is thick oak reinforced with iron bands, with a small barred window at eye level. Through it, you can see Sir Geoffrey of Thornwick, a man of perhaps 40 years, still bearing the bearing of nobility. Despite his circumstances. His clothes are expensive but disheveled, his hair unkempt, his face showing the effects of several days' imprisonment. He looks up as you approach, and his eyes narrow as he recognizes your purpose. So, you're the butcher they've sent to evaluate their prize pig. His voice carries the educated accent of nobility, but underneath it you can hear the fear and anger that Sheriff Robert warned you about. This is a man fighting against his fate rather than accepting it, which will make your job more challenging but not impossible. I am Thomas, appointed by Lord Aldrich to carry out lawful sentences, you reply calmly. Your voice stays level, professional but not unfriendly. There's no point in adding to his distress, and dignity requires that you treat him with respect regardless of his crimes or attitude. Lawful, he spits. A mockery of justice orchestrated by men who wanted my lands and found a convenient excuse to take them. You don't respond to this accusation. The courts have made their determination, and your role isn't to judge guilt or innocence but to carry out the sentence as efficiently and mercifully as possible. Political complications and conspiracy theories are beyond your purview. Instead, you observe him carefully, noting his physical condition and likely behavior during the execution. He's still strong, which means he could potentially cause difficulties if he chooses to resist. His anger seems genuine but controlled, more likely to manifest in verbal outbursts than physical violence, though. You'll need to be prepared for either possibility. The execution will take place in 2 hours, you tell him matter-of-factly. You'll be allowed to make final statements if you wish. Father Benedict will be available until the last moment if you desire additional spiritual counsel. Sir Geoffrey laughs bitterly. Spiritual counsel from that doddering fool? I'll meet my maker with my own prayers, thank you. You nod respectfully. As you wish. The process will be quick and clean. You have my word on that. For a moment, some of the anger fades from his face, replaced by something approaching gratitude. Whatever else he may be, Sir Geoffrey understands that your skill can mean the difference between a merciful death and a botched execution that prolongs suffering. Thank you, he says quietly, the first genuine courtesy he's shown. I know this isn't personal for you. No, Sir Geoffrey. It isn't personal. You turn to leave, having learned what you needed to know. Sir Geoffrey is angry and proud, but not likely to create unmanageable difficulties. The execution can proceed according to standard protocol for nobility, with appropriate ceremony and attention to his remaining rights as a knight. As you descend the spiral staircase, your breathing naturally deepens and slows. The encounter has gone as well as could be expected under the circumstances. Now comes the period of final preparation, both practical and mental, for the task ahead. Final preparations. The castle's armory has been made available for your final preparations, a courtesy extended because of the execution's significance. Here, away from curious eyes and potential distractions, you can ready your tools and yourself with the thoroughness this work requires. You begin by laying out your equipment on a clean wooden table, unwrapping each item from its protective leather covering. The executioner's sword emerges first, its blade catching the light from the narrow windows. Even in this practical setting, there's something almost ceremonial about revealing the instruments that will soon end a human life. The sword requires your closest attention. You examine every inch of the blade, checking for any imperfections that might have developed since your last inspection. Finding none, you begin the final sharpening process, using the whetstone with practiced, methodical strokes that have become as natural as breathing. The rhythm of sharpening is meditative, long, smooth passes of stone against steel, each stroke carefully angled to maintain the blade's perfect edge. Your breathing synchronizes naturally with the movement, in on the forward stroke, out on the return. The sound of stone against metal creates a steady, almost hypnotic background that helps center your mind for the work ahead. As you work, you mentally rehearse the execution procedure. Sir Geoffrey will be brought to the courtyard and position kneeling on the prepared block. As a knight, he's entitled to face his executioner rather than laying his head on a traditional chopping block, another privilege of rank that must be observed even in these circumstances. The crowd will be relatively small but formal. Lord Aldrich himself will preside, along with Sheriff Robert, Father Benedict, and several witnesses representing both church and secular authority. There may also be a representative from the merchant's family, ensuring that justice is seen to be done for the victim as well as the perpetrator. Your positioning will be crucial. You'll stand behind and slightly to the side of Sir Geoffrey, allowing for the full swing of the sword while ensuring that the blade's path is clear of any obstacles. The angle must be perfect. Too high and the blow might not sever the spine cleanly, too low and it could strike bone in a way that deflects the blade's path. These technical considerations might seem cold, but they're actually expressions of mercy. A perfectly executed beheading is over in an instant, with minimal suffering. A poorly executed one can result in multiple blows, prolonged agony, and a horrifying spectacle that serves no one's interests. Your skill and preparation are gifts of compassion, even in the context of lawful killing. The sword's edge is now perfect, sharp enough to slice through flesh and bone with the efficiency that mercy demands. You test it carefully against a piece of cloth, watching the fabric part cleanly with almost no pressure. Satisfied, you set the weapon aside and begin your own personal preparations. From your bag, you remove a small bottle of holy water and sprinkle a few drops on your hands, murmuring a brief prayer for steadiness and accuracy. This isn't superstition but preparation. Anything that helps maintain your calm and focus serves the ultimate goal of performing your duty with professional competence. You also take a moment to adjust your clothing, ensuring that nothing will restrict your movement during the crucial moment. The black tunic is loose enough to allow a full range of motion, the belt tight enough to keep everything secure. Your boots are checked to ensure solid footing on whatever surface awaits in the courtyard. Finally, there's the mental preparation that may be most important of all. You close your eyes and breathe deeply, centering yourself in the present moment. In through your nose, filling your lungs completely, then out through your mouth with deliberate control. Your heartbeat slows to its normal, steady rhythm. This is the moment when you fully transition from Thomas the man to Thomas the executioner, not a transformation into someone else, but a focusing of your existing skills and character into their most concentrated form. The work ahead requires not brutality but precision, not callousness but professional compassion. You think briefly of Sir Geoffrey, alone in his cell with whatever final thoughts and prayers occupy his last hours. His crimes were real, the evidence clear, the court's judgment lawful. Whatever injustices he believes he suffered, the merchant he killed deserved life just as much as Sir Geoffrey now deserves a quick, clean death. This balance of justice and mercy is what allows you to perform your work without losing your humanity. You're not taking pleasure in ending a life, but you're also not paralyzed by false sympathy for someone whose own actions brought him to this point. You're serving a function that society requires, using skills that few possess, in service of principles larger than any individual case. Opening your eyes, you feel ready. Your breathing is calm and controlled, your mind clear and focused. Your body prepared for the physical demands of the task. The sword feels perfectly balanced in your hands, an extension of your own will and purpose. A church bell chimes in the distance, marking the passage of time toward the appointed hour. Soon, a knock will come at the armory door, summoning you to the courtyard where Sir Geoffrey of Thornwick will meet his end and you will fulfill your professional duty once again. Until that moment comes, you wait in this quiet space, breathing steadily, maintaining the calm that will serve both you and the condemned man in the difficult moments ahead. Your role in this ancient drama is clear, your preparation complete, your purpose understood. The courtyard. The knock comes precisely when expected, 3 sharp raps on the armory door, followed by the voice of Sheriff Robert announcing that the time has come. You gather your tools with practiced efficiency, wrapping the sword in its cloth but keeping it easily accessible for the moment of need. The walk to the courtyard feels both eternal and instantaneous, time distorting in the way it does during moments of great significance. Your footsteps echo off the stone corridors, each step bringing you closer to the culmination of the morning's preparations. Your breathing remains steady and controlled, an anchor of calm in the approaching storm of official ceremony and violent necessity. The courtyard has been transformed since your arrival this morning. A wooden platform has been erected. In the center, raised just high enough to ensure that all witnesses can see clearly. Fresh sawdust has been spread around the platform to absorb what must be absorbed, and wooden barriers create a clear boundary between the execution space and the gathered witnesses. Lord Aldrich stands on a smaller platform to one side, his presence lending the formal authority that transforms this from mere killing into lawful execution. He's a man in his 60s, weathered by years of making difficult decisions, his face showing neither pleasure nor distaste at the proceedings but simply the grave acceptance of necessary duty. The witnesses are arranged according to their status and role, church officials near the front, representatives of secular authority beside them, and a small group of townsfolk who have legitimate reasons to attend. There's none of the carnival atmosphere that will characterize public executions in later centuries, but rather a solemn awareness that justice is being served in its most final form. Father Benedict stands near the platform, his vestments suggesting that he's prepared to offer final rites if Sir Geoffrey changes his mind about spiritual counsel. The priest's face shows the strain of his position, called to minister to both the condemned man and the community that has condemned him, seeking God's mercy while acknowledging God's justice. Sheriff Robert approaches as you reach the platform, his expression showing the same professional gravity you feel yourself. Sir Geoffrey will be brought out in a few moments, he says quietly. He's requested permission to make a final statement. Lord Aldrich has agreed, provided it's kept brief and appropriate. You nod, making final adjustments to your position and equipment. The platform's surface is solid and level, providing the stable footing that accurate work requires. You test your stance, ensuring that you'll have clear space for the sword's arc and that no obstacles will interfere with the necessary motion. The sword itself you keep wrapped until the final moment, partly to protect the blade, partly because the sight of the weapon tends to increase tension in an already charged atmosphere. When the time comes, you'll unwrap it with the same calm efficiency that characterizes all your movements, treating it as the professional tool it is rather than an object of drama or intimidation. Your breathing continues in its steady rhythm, each inhalation bringing calm, each exhalation releasing tension. The crowd's presence registers in your awareness but doesn't disturb your focus. Their witness serves important social functions, confirming that justice has been done, demonstrating the consequences of serious crime, and providing closure for those affected by Sir Geoffrey's actions. The heavy doors of the castle tower open, and Sir Geoffrey emerges flanked by 2 guards. The morning's imprisonment has clearly taken its toll, his nobleman's bearing is still evident but diminished, his face showing the effects of contemplating his imminent death. He walks steadily, however, maintaining what dignity remains to him in these final moments. As he approaches the platform, your eyes meet briefly. In that moment, you see not the angry, defiant man from the cell but someone facing the ultimate test of human courage. His fear is evident but controlled, his anger replaced by a grave acceptance of what's about to occur. This transformation isn't uncommon. The final walk often brings a clarity that anger and denial have previously obscured. Sir Geoffrey mounts the platform with assistance from the guards, then turns to face Lord Aldrich and the assembled witnesses. The positioning is precise and ceremonial, ensuring that his final words will be heard clearly and that his death, when it comes, will be witnessed properly by all who need to see it. "My lord," Sir Geoffrey begins, his voice carrying clearly across the courtyard, "I stand before you, condemned for the death of Master William the merchant. I maintain that I acted in defense of my own life when he attacked me in my chambers, but I accept that the court has found otherwise." His statement is more temperate than his earlier ravings suggested it would be, showing either genuine repentance or simply the dignity that impending death can bring to even the most flawed individuals. You listen with professional attention, noting that his composure will likely make your job easier when the moment comes. "I ask forgiveness from Master William's family for the grief my actions have caused them," he continues, "and I commend my soul to God's mercy, trusting that he will judge more justly than earthly courts." The final phrase carries a sting, but it's delivered without the bitter anger that characterized his earlier words. Lord Aldrich's expression doesn't change. He's heard many such final statements, some accepting responsibility, others proclaiming innocence to the end. His duty is to ensure that justice is carried out according to law, not to debate the finer points of guilt and innocence. Father Benedict steps forward as Sir Geoffrey concludes his statement. "Will you accept final blessing, my son?" he asks gently. For a moment, Sir Geoffrey hesitates, then nods. "I will, Father. God knows I need all the mercy I can find." The brief ceremony that follows has its own solemn beauty, the priest's Latin words carrying comfort. Even to those who don't understand their precise meaning, the sign of the cross made over a condemned man's head, the ancient rituals that acknowledge shared humanity even in the context of lawful killing. As the blessing concludes, Sheriff Robert signals that the time for ceremony has ended and the moment for action has arrived. Sir Geoffrey takes his position, kneeling on the prepared spot with surprising grace. His hands are bound before him, but loosely, more symbolism than restraint, since his cooperation makes additional security unnecessary. Now comes your moment, the culmination of years of training and experience focused into a single, precise action. You unwrap the sword with deliberate care, feeling its familiar weight settle into your grip. The blade catches the morning light, clean and sharp and ready for its grim purpose. Your breathing deepens slightly as you take your position behind the kneeling figure. Every detail must be perfect, the angle of approach, the height of the swing, the moment of contact. Sir Geoffrey's composure helps tremendously. A struggling or hysterical victim would make accuracy much more difficult and mercy much harder to achieve. "I am ready," Sir Geoffrey says quietly, his voice steady. The simple words carry enormous dignity, a man facing death with courage, whatever his other failings might have been. The courtyard falls silent except for the natural sounds of morning, birds singing, wind stirring the trees. Beyond the castle walls, the distant sounds of normal life continuing in the town below. In this pocket of ceremonial time and space, death waits with patient certainty. You raise the sword, feeling the perfect balance of the weapon, the alignment of your body and arms and the blade itself into a single instrument of swift justice. Your breathing stops for just a moment, the pause before action that every craftsman knows, when preparation meets execution and skill becomes reality. Then the moment arrives, and the sword descends in a perfect arc, ending Sir Geoffrey of Thornwick's earthly story with the mercy of a clean, instant death. The crowd remains silent, some crossing themselves, others simply witnessing the completion of justice according to the laws and customs of their time. Your role is finished, but the morning's work continues with the careful, respectful procedures that follow. Every execution, the confirmation of death, the preparation of the body for burial, the recording of details in official records. These final steps matter too, ensuring that even this condemned man's death is handled with the dignity that all human endings deserve. The aftermath. The silence that follows the sword's descent lasts only moments, but those moments stretch like hours in your perception. Then Lord Aldrich steps forward, his voice carrying the formal authority that transforms violence into justice. Let it be recorded that Sir Geoffrey of Thornwick has paid the lawful penalty for his crimes, and may God have mercy on his soul. This pronouncement marks the official end of the execution, though your responsibilities continue for some time yet. The crowd begins to disperse quickly, most people having little desire to linger at the scene of death, their duty as witnesses fulfilled and their appetite for such grim spectacles satisfied. You clean your sword with practiced efficiency, using the cloths you brought for this purpose. The blade must be thoroughly cleaned and oiled before being returned to storage, both for practical reasons and as a mark of respect for the tool that has served justice faithfully. This careful maintenance is part of the ritual that helps you process what has just occurred. Father Benedict approaches as you work, his face showing the complex emotions that attend such moments. "A clean death," he says quietly. "You served him well, Thomas." The priest's words carry weight beyond simple professional assessment. In a world where botched executions are horrifyingly common, your skill has provided the mercy of instant death rather than prolonged suffering. This competence is your gift to the condemned, your way of honoring their humanity even while ending their lives. He faced it with courage, you reply, acknowledging Sir Geoffrey's final dignity. That matters. It does matter, both for the dead man's memory and for your own ability to continue in this profession. The worst executions involve prisoners who collapse in terror or fight desperately against their fate, creating chaotic scenes that serve no one's interests. Sir Geoffrey's composure allowed you to work with precision and him to die with honor. Sheriff Robert oversees the removal of the body, ensuring that proper procedures are followed for burial. Even executed criminals deserve respectful treatment of their remains, and the sheriff takes this responsibility seriously. The body will be buried in consecrated ground, though not with the elaborate ceremonies that Sir Geoffrey's rank might once have commanded. As the courtyard clears, you pack your tools with the same careful attention you gave to their preparation. Everything must be properly cleaned, wrapped, and stored until the next time your services are required. The execution itself may be finished, but the professional requirements of your position continue through these final details. Lord Aldrich approaches as you complete your preparations, his weathered face showing approval of your work. "Well done, Thomas. Clean and efficient, as always." He pauses, then adds, "The court may have need of your services again soon. There's a case of highway robbery that may end in capital charges." You nod acknowledgement of this information without enthusiasm or distaste. Future cases are simply future responsibilities, to be approached with the same professional competence you've brought to today's work. Your role is to be ready when needed, not to seek out opportunities for employment. "I'll be available when required, my lord," you reply simply. With final courtesies exchanged, you gather your canvas bag and begin the walk back through the castle and town to your home. The return journey feels different from the morning's approach, less tense, more reflective, carrying the weight of completed duty rather than pending responsibility. The townspeople you encounter on your way home show the same mixture of reactions you've grown accustomed to over the years. Some avoid your gaze entirely, uncomfortable with what you represent. Others nod respectfully, understanding that you've served the community's need for justice. Children stare with undisguised curiosity until hushed by their parents. Your own feelings are complex but manageable, refined by years of experience into a sustainable equilibrium. There's no pleasure in what you've done, but neither is there guilt or shame. You've performed necessary work with skill and humanity, serving justice while minimizing suffering. That balance allows you to continue in a profession that would destroy someone who couldn't maintain such perspective. Reaching your home, you store your tools in their proper places and change from your working clothes into ordinary garments. The transformation back from executioner to simply Thomas feels natural now, like an actor stepping out of costume after a demanding performance. The role is important but not all consuming, you remain yourself beneath its requirements. The rest of the day stretches ahead with welcome normalcy. There are ordinary tasks to complete. Maintenance around the house, preparation of meals, perhaps some reading from your small collection of books. The village continues its daily life around you, and you're part of that life even while set slightly apart by your unusual profession. Evening will bring its own rhythms, a simple meal, quiet contemplation, prayers that acknowledge both the day's grim necessities and the ongoing need for divine mercy. Sleep, when it comes, will be the sleep of someone who has fulfilled his obligations honestly and competently, regardless of how others might judge those obligations. Evening reflections. As the sun begins its descent toward the western horizon, you find yourself in the small garden behind your house, tending to the herbs and vegetables that supplement your income from official duties. The physical work feels good after the morning's tension, your hands finding comfort in the ordinary tasks of weeding and watering that connect you to the normal rhythms of agricultural life. The garden serves multiple purposes beyond simple food production. Many of the herbs you grow have medicinal properties that make you valuable to the community in ways that have nothing to do with your official position. Townspeople occasionally seek your help with injuries or illnesses, trusting in knowledge you've gained through necessity and study. This healing work provides balance to your life's darker responsibilities, where your official duties involve ending life. Your informal medical practice helps preserve and restore it. The contradiction isn't lost on you, but rather than finding it troubling, you see it as evidence of life's complexity and your own multifaceted role within the community. Your breathing has found its natural evening rhythm, slower and deeper than the controlled precision required during this morning's execution. In and out, matching the gentle movement of evening air through the garden plants. The physical relaxation mirrors your mental transition from professional duty to personal time. The herbs tell their own stories as you tend them: comfort for healing wounds, willow bark for reducing fever, poppies for pain relief when other remedies fail. Each plant represents knowledge accumulated over years of necessity and observation, skills that complement rather than contradict your primary profession. As twilight deepens, you move inside to prepare your evening meal. The routine is simple but satisfying. Bread from yesterday's baking, cheese from the local dairy, vegetables from your garden, and a cup of ale to wash it all down. The food tastes better for being earned through honest work, even work as difficult as yours. Eating by candlelight, you review the day's events with the detachment that experience has taught you to maintain. Sir Geoffrey of Thornwick faced his end with more courage than his earlier behavior had suggested possible. The execution proceeded smoothly, professionally, with minimal suffering for the condemned and clear demonstration of justice for the community. These mental reviews serve important purposes beyond simple reminiscence. By analyzing each execution objectively, you identify lessons that might improve future performance or prevent potential problems. The work is too important and too difficult to approach casually or without careful attention to continuous improvement. Your small library beckons from its shelf near the fireplace, a collection of books that represents years of careful saving and occasional gifts from literate members of the community who recognize your intelligence despite your unusual profession. Tonight you select a volume of moral philosophy, seeking wisdom about justice, mercy, and the proper role of lawful authority in human affairs. Reading by candlelight, you find passages that speak to your situation with startling relevance. The ancient philosophers understood that some people must perform society's most difficult tasks, and they wrote with insight about the psychological and spiritual challenges such work presents. Their words provide comfort and perspective that few living people could offer. The candle burns lower as you read, its flickering light creating dancing shadows on the stone walls of your chamber. The familiar environment wraps around you like a comfortable garment, providing the security and peace that allow you to process the day's experiences without being overwhelmed by them. As bedtime approaches, you perform the evening prayers that have become central to maintaining your spiritual equilibrium. These aren't merely rote recitations but genuine communications with the divine, seeking forgiveness for any failures of mercy or skill, gratitude for the strength to fulfill your duties, and guidance for whatever challenges tomorrow might bring. The prayers include specific remembrance of Sir Geoffrey, asking that his soul find the peace in death that seemed to elude him in his final days of life. This isn't sentiment but recognition of shared humanity. Whatever his crimes, he was a man created in God's image, deserving of the mercy that divine justice might provide even when earthly justice has run its course. Preparing for sleep, you change into your nightclothes and bank the fire to preserve coals for tomorrow's rekindling. The simple domestic tasks ground you in ordinary life, reminding you that even executioners must deal with the same practical necessities that occupy everyone else. Lying in your bed, you feel your body relaxing completely for the first time since the morning summons arrived. Your muscles release the careful tension that professional duty required, your breathing deepens into the slower rhythm of approaching sleep, your mind begins to let go of the day's intense focus and precision. The straw mattress supports you comfortably, the wool blanket provides warmth against the evening chill, and the familiar sounds of the house settling for the night create a peaceful background for rest. Your chamber feels like a sanctuary, a place where you can exist simply as yourself rather than as an Instrument of justice. Sleep comes gradually, naturally, your consciousness gently separating from the day's experiences and drifting toward the restoration that will prepare you for tomorrow's unknown demands. Your breathing slows to match the deeper rhythms of rest, each exhalation carrying away some portion of the day's accumulated tension. Dreams, when they come, might bring memories of the morning's work or visions of other possibilities. Sometimes you dream of your former life as a blacksmith's apprentice, working with metal to create, rather than destroy. Other times you dream of healing herbs and grateful patience, using your hands to preserve life rather than end it. But tonight, as consciousness fades and sleep takes hold, there's simply peace, the peace that comes from duty fulfilled according to conscience and law, from work performed with skill and mercy, from a life lived with integrity despite its unusual demands and moral complexities. Your breathing becomes even deeper, more rhythmic, as sleep embraces you fully. The executioner's tools rest quietly in their storage chest, clean and ready for whatever future service justice might require. But Thomas the man sleeps peacefully, having earned his rest through honest labor in service of principles larger than any individual case or personal preference. The medieval world continues its ancient rhythms around your sleeping form, watchmen calling the hours, animals settling for the night, the eternal cycle of human activity and rest that has sustained civilization through all its trials and transformations. You're part of that great continuity, playing your necessary role with competence and humanity. Rest now comes easily, deep and restorative, preparing body and spirit for whatever tomorrow might demand. The day's work is complete, its lessons learned and integrated, its responsibilities fulfilled with the skill and mercy that your position requires. Sleep well, knowing that even the darkest duties can be performed with honor when approached with proper preparation, professional competence, and genuine respect for the humanity of all involved, including your own. Breathe deeply, relax completely, and let yourself drift into the healing darkness where conscience rests. Easy in tomorrow's challenges, wait patiently for tomorrow's strength. The medieval executioner's work goes on through history's long nights, but for now, there is only sleep. Only the gentle rhythm of restoration, only the peaceful surrender to rest's ancient promise of renewal. Sleep now, and dream of better worlds while serving faithfully in this one.